Yeah! You don't need a watch to know what time it is. Welcome back to Toy Lips. I'm Dylan, your patron of prodigious plastic posables. And today we are taking a look at the Haslab Sentinel. I'm sure we're all very excited, right? Back in this thing last summer, I feel like we've all waited long enough. Let me just go ahead and pop my claws and tear into this thing. I am thrilled that you're all here with me. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more of me in your future. When they just peel away, isn't that fun? Oh. Oh. Whoop, 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 whoop. And we'll continue down to the next layer here. Okay, that didn't work. Can't even believe it. Oh, you're huge! For those of you not in the know, Haslab is Hasbro's version of a Kickstarter for enormous toys like this that may not work so well at regular retail. Look at this thing is absolutely a wash and amazing artwork by Pepe Larraz. Look at this. Sentinels on the side. There's a Prime Sentinel there. One of those is included. Bastion, the Prime Sentinel. Looks like the Master Mold head right there. Wolverine, of course. Turning over here. Ooh. And we get the Omega Sentinel. Magneto, Xavier, Moira. Fold back around with Scott and Jean, the quintessential X-Men right there. This is just, the box itself is just a gorgeous piece. But, you know, it's just a box. Let's go ahead. Let's set the box right here. Slit the top and she shall rise. This is just ridiculous. Make sure to lift with your back in a jerking, twisting motion. Oh, wow. How much falls away if I remove this? Oh, that new toy smell. My goodness. Let's try to fish this out, shall we? Got a statement from the FCC. Anything good in here? Ooh. Caution. Yeah, all this about batteries, hypothetical batteries. Doesn't include batteries. It probably does. If it doesn't, I got batteries. Maybe it doesn't, and you don't want them like rotting in your box, which is fine. But then what is all this paperwork? They must be inside of it. I'm an idiot. Be free. Okay, how long before something just falls on the floor and smashes? You can see right here, just beautifully displayed, you have the Sentinel itself, as well as various other stretch goals, including extra heads, tendril, and additional figures. 6-inch figures, as that is the scale, 1/12, where an inch equals about a foot. So it is supposed to be this big comparatively. They're often depicted as different sizes, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 feet or something. It's how big a Sentinel should be. I remember as a child looking at it and noticing that they sort of came up to its calf when we were standing there, and that's money. That's money. So anyway, as we're going then, we got Bastion here, the Prime Sentinel, as well as a little additional tiny head. Ooh, just to make him a more generic Prime Sentinel, disguised as your everyday human being until it, twists into this in a female variation of a Prime Sentinel. Okay, tendrils. Pair of these for capturing those fugitive mutants, doing them dirty, or maybe just some kind of naughty tentacle adventure. Moving down the list here, we have the Master Mold Head. Oh yes, oh yes. And of course, we'll be taking a much closer look at all of this in the proper review. We are still just unboxing, but this is wild. Wild times indeed. Continuing on down, we have the Sentinel head. Yes, ladies and germs, that means 3. And then the battle damaged version of the regular head. I love how well this thing is packaged, man. This is premier. To further round out that look, we have the battle damaged paw. Perfect for, you know, looking like you were in a fight with the X-Men, or perhaps stuffing that Thanksgiving turkey. And finally, oh, is that all? Yes, yes. All right, my child. Yeah. Wow. And yeah, right away it just wants to fall over. You know, and it makes me wonder. I'm sure nobody wanted this, and how many production samples they ordered. You end up with screws of varying degrees of tightness, right? In these leg joints. At this point, we all understand what's happening here, and this comes just right from the factory to each of us, and so there was no in between sort of QC check on that. Of course, I do have a screwdriver, so I'll be fine. But again, you know, let's harp on the lack of ratchet joints. I'm sure there must be a reason. But this thing is just gorgeous. We're not going to fixate too much on the leg thing. I mean, it is massive. There has not been anything quite like this before. Are we giving it a pass though? Not necessarily. Like if I walk away from my new $300 toy, it's just gonna collapse, right? And it's it'd just, yeah, it'd do you like that. That's all right. She is a new child. She needs to be held. Hello there. Hello there. Smells coming off of that. It's vaguely poisonous and absolutely perfect. Telling me what your heart, man. Here we are with everything displayed over here by the wall of comic books. You're right, SP. No one's got that review station. I thought before I got into the review proper, I would go ahead and tighten those screws just a little bit, much as it pains me to go prying on my new $300 toy. I have already discovered that that's just too much. I mean, they won't. That's just silly. What we've got here is my Gerber multi-tool that I was issued at Fort Campbell, Kentucky back in 2004. Yeah. I couldn't remember what style of screw, so this would have a Phillips and a flathead. Oh yeah, you just stick a little flathead or something equivalent right into that little spot there, and this pries right out. No harm to that. And yes, of course, that is a Phillips. So yeah, sure. We're just gonna go by feel here. I build buildings for like 50 hours a week, so I am no stranger to running screws. Should I have to in this case? No. There really isn't a lot of resistance here. We'll just give it a little half turn. I can feel some resistance there, and maybe that's all. Oh, that's much better. Yeah. It was like nothing though. It was maybe not even it was like a half turn on that screw. So I don't feel that weird about it. Will we have to continue doing this? Is it a permanent fix? No, I don't believe so. Should I shout out Robo from the Whoosh for looking into this first? Absolutely, man. Thanks a lot. Okay, pop that out of there. And I got a smaller driver, as that other one was a little oversized. Okay, right away there's an issue here. There's no turn on that screw. This one's not floppy, but it's too loose for the weight. That's not going to work. Honestly, I feel like I'm going to strip out this cheap fastener. Not cool, Hasbro. So I did want to point something out real quick before we move on. This is my Marvel Universe Sentinel. Far be it from me to be the guy that shows you your own toys, right? But this is from 2010. I know it's a smaller scale. But we have pinless ratcheted knee joints. You see they have little stopping points at each one. Some kind of a bumpy joint. So that it locks in place and is less prone to fall. And I mean, if it wasn't, there's nothing to mess with anyway. So, and I know what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander. But still. What hell, guys? What hell? You go ahead, buddy. Chickadee China, the Chinese chicken. You tighten that screw and the screw starts stripping. The paint detail on this thing is just superb. I do believe a lot of the plastic is casted in the appropriate colors. But it's also got this like metal flake in there to give it this nice sheen. Let's take a look at this deco. Let's get a little closer here. If I were to just get this right into our faces here, I mean, look at that thing, just super clean. I love how it's got all of the wiring and the things that you can see inside there, and it's all through. It's like you've got the heavy armor plating, but in between here you've got all this wiring and whatnot, and they've painted the occasional strand of wire. Look at these hands. All of the fingers are articulated, and it's got sort of the blasting effect in there, as well as a socket for the tendrils. Down here, continuing with the deco, we have this nice little diaper piece. This is a softer material, like the shoulder pads, and so is the top of the thigh plates, which is fantastic. That's genius, man. Still, we can look inside of the crotchal area here, deep down in the subcrotchal regions. You can see they've colored a wire here, a wire there. I think that's fine. Don't color all the wires. That's not how it would be, right? It's just enough to make it pop, to make it stand out a little. Lower and lower. Here's our famous knee joints, double jointed, which is killer, heavy. It falls. You have to be careful with your posing. We have these nice little caps, that hide the joints. That's pretty cool. The ankles rock all around. You have this extra piece that you could move with it. Turning him around here, you see this impressive back plate. This actually tears right off of there, and that's where the batteries go. I'm not going to show you guys how to put batteries in. I put batteries in it. You get the idea. You need a screwdriver. Hey, I would have just gone with the back plate. That's enough, right? This isn't for little kids. Maybe they're afraid a little kid's going to pick one out and dig the batteries out of there and eat them when he finds your Sentinel broken on the floor because the knees gave and it fell. Anyway, let's move in for a closer look again. Yeah, look at this powerful back, and there's like turbines and stuff inside of there because this thing flies, man. There is nowhere to hide these track mutants, and then they go hunt them down in great big waves. You know, it's like I wish I bought 10 of these. Look at that thigh work. Bottoms of the feet. You can see there's more detailing there, more turbines and whatnot, jet engines, whatever's going on there. However this thing propels itself. All the little rivets and fake fasteners and things in there are just, they're all painted, all detailed. I'm really happy with that. Ooh, yes. Yes, friends. You press this button once there are batteries and heat lights up. Press it again and it changes colors. It's actually got 3 different colors. And if you hold the button, it will flash, simulating perhaps a malfunction. Harkening all the way back to the earliest days of the X-Men, nearly 60 years ago, the Sentinels are giant mutant hunting robots created by the government. Sounds like the government, yeah? Through the years, they've generally had a similar aesthetic. It varies a little. I think a lot of people are familiar with the simplistic designs of the cartoon. They looked great. I feel like they were kind of pushovers on the cartoon, though, for what they were. They were just chewing through them by the dozens, you know what I mean? In the comics, it's more like, to a mutant, a sentinel means death. Rightly so. This is intimidating. This specific design is based on the modern comics from John Hickman, Pepe Larraz, R.B. Silva. It basically goes that on a long enough timeline, no matter what you do, mankind will always create sentinels. So the mutants had to do something drastic to protect themselves going forward. They're trying to game the system. It's like that Rick and Morty episode with the frickin' crystal. They're trying to veer towards the, you know what I mean. So to scope the articulation, it's going to be about what you'd expect. This head is on a gigantic ball peg with a light inside of it. Probably wiring that goes down into the chest cavity. Probably the biggest space where you're going to have that because it lights up here and there. The neck also rotates a little bit. You might be worried about wires running through it, but I bet there's limiters preventing it from going too far either way. Shoulders are on these ball joints here, and the shoulder pad is a softer material, and they're doing that thing where they're sort of ported in on a ring with some of the other Iron Man figures or even Star Wars figures. You may have seen this from Hasbro. Reaches up pretty well. It's got a bicep cut here and double jointed elbows. Turn into the side a little bit, get a little more of that action, and it goes. You get a 90 out of it. I mean, it is a big honking robot. You know what I'm saying? Down here at the wrist, it's got that hinge in there, and it's got a big fat ball on the wrist, and all of the fingers are articulated. They have multiple joints, and they will fold into like a fist shape as well. The thumb will hinge all the way in. That's killer. Get a little closer. Take a closer look at that. Yeah. Look at these fingers. Yes, indeed. That hinges all the way in. That's key on things with articulated fingers. You never see that. You can't get a true fist if you can't hinge that thumb in. So, loving that. It does have a diaphragm cut here. It doesn't move too tremendously much, again, because I think there's probably a bunch of mechanisms and stuff inside of it. Yeah. But it also has an ab crunch there, which is sweet. And again, you don't, it looks back some, but it doesn't go in that far. Speaking of, not much up and down on the head either, because this ball joint in here with a light display, it is enormous. This is a big diaper here just to keep it soft, and so it's kind of pliable and out of the way. The legs are also socketed. They have these great big hinges in here, and the Sentinel can actually do the splits. You just kind of tuck this softer material up in there. And look at that. It's just absurd. But yeah, more articulation is always fantastic. Never unwelcome around here. Double jointed knees. They are quite heavy. Right in there, coming on down. You've got a hinge. The foot will hinge forward, backward, and it does have rocker. It's limited by the ankle there, but that might also help keep it stable. It does have really good articulation for a gigantic robot. This stuff going on with the hands, that is money. Look, his fingers. Come on now. Have you a sit down, friend. It is really wild how expressive this thing can be, just with the base articulation as well as all this stuff the hands are doing. I forgot to mention, it's got this little flap here for aesthetics on the back of the wrist that hinges back a little so that it doesn't interfere so much with the wrist articulation. That's awesome. That's awesome. Stick this one up here. What I was looking to do now is we're going to check out these accessories, which means prying this head off again. Yeah, look at that thing. Great big light in there with this window on it. So let's go ahead and pop on this battle damaged head. Nice and crispy. And how about battle damaged hand to match? I'm gonna move that around here to the front so we don't drop it. And these just socket right in. Again, think giant Marvel Legend. Because that's exactly what it is. And he's just And let's just go ahead and get a really close look at that. Yeah. What? You've only got the one eye because he's all busted up? It's got like the explosive, these blast marks and scratches and like dents from like heavy rounds of some kind. The head has been peeled back a little bit. That just looks fantastic. What's left of the fingers, these don't articulate anymore, but he's having a hard time. He's got other things to worry about. So the next thing I want to do, I want to bring forth the Sentinel head. We'll take a closer look at it here first. Look at that. This one has a slightly darker gold. This one's got the grill. And this is a silver. Throwback all the way to the old school Sentinels. And of course this whole thing, it's more a nod to the Sentinel, as that's got 6 arms. But people aren't going to know that. It's just another sweet head, man. Not unwelcome. Be careful maybe wrestling this one, because some of the parts are a little more delicate as they flare off of there. The paint work on these, this is fantastic. Because of the tightness, you may lift it off of there and then plug that head back in. I may. Do whatever you want with your toy. Kick your feet up, man. They're toys. We're playing with toys. This is great. I didn't mean to leave that off. Anyway, the Master Mold. This right here. That is so cool. And as I do have a few of the Marvel Universe Sentinels, this is right up my alley. I could use this as a Master Mold. The reality is this toy is a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of different things for a long time. That is so cool. This moldy master head, this might actually have the best articulation of all of them because it sits up a little higher off the peg. Even though I just mostly remember this thing sitting in a friggin' chair. And then we get not one, but 2 tendrils with a bendy wire running all through. You just put it around the thing and start wrapping it. Look at old Scotty there, finding out the hard way. But he's no fool. He's keeping his composure, cool, calm, collected. Just a little closer, bud. These are pack-ins with the Sentinel, but they are also figures in their own right. Being that they are mostly reuse, we'll just do a quick run through here. Bastion here is actually a fusion of a Nimrod from an alternate future and a Master Mold Sentinel reincarnated by the Siege Perilous into this being with no memory of any of that, but still some hatred of mutants that caused him to create the Prime Sentinels, nanotechnology inside regular humans that when activated they become Sentinels. That's what's up with this extra head, so he can be one of many, and a female variation as well. These are killer little figures, but they are mostly reuse. These are brand new heads. That looks great, though. Look at the deco on that thing. Those eyes and this sweet goatee. Metal parts here on the neck. The upper torso is brand new, or rather, it's got all this sculpt over it, so it is a unique piece. Everything else, though, is just reuse from like the slightly softer body. Think Reed Richards. Standard female body. Looks good, but again, we could use a little bit more. I know these are thin little arms. But again, we have a unique upper torso and unique head. Also looking great. God, who would be mad about that? I mean, these are accessories. So with the articulation, you've seen this stuff before. Head on a ball joint there. Shoulders. Elbows. Single joint. Hinge at the wrist. Nothing at the waist, sadly. Diaphragm cut up here. Upper thigh cuts. Double jointed knee. No calf rotation. But we do have the hinge and swivel at the feet, as well as the requisite rocker ankles. Bastion. It's pretty much going to be the same thing, except he has the bicep cut. And double jointed elbows. Wrist, hinge, has a ab crunch and waist swivel. I don't know why I said they were the same. They're completely different bodies. The male types usually win the war here, but they it's a little bit thicker, a little more meat to use to cut into. Double jointed knee, calf cut, hinge, swivel, rocker. Stellar. Massive thanks and much love to the whole Hasbro Marvel team. I have been stoked on this thing all day. I love this figure. The proportions are they're perfect, man. He cuts a fine silhouette. The paint deco and all of that, it's great. All the little things, like the way those thigh plates are soft. You know what I mean? I wish the head looked back, and it's unfortunate about the knees, but it's not the end of the world. Please like and subscribe if you Days of Future Past. Jump in there, Jimmy. He's mauling your mates. Ah!
Why do you hate us? What did we ever do to you?
You were born